The scanner array had been quiet for 6 hours straight. Ryloth tapped his secondary limbs against the console in a rhythmic pattern his mother taught him as a hatchling. The pattern meant patience. The pattern meant everything would be fine. His 4 primary eyes tracked the empty display screens while his smaller pair watched the chronometer tick away another shift in the observation station orbiting the red giant. Then the alarm screamed. Every screen lit up at once. Numbers poured across the displays faster than Ryloth could process them. His mandibles clicked together in distress as he leaned closer to the main scanner. Something had just entered the detection grid. Something big, something moving at speeds that made his stomach sacs clench. Commander Brevis slid into the command center on his mucus trail, leaving a glistening path across the floor. His bulbous eyes swiveled to focus on Ryloth. Report. Unknown vessel, Commander, grid section 774. It's moving through the restricted zone. Ryloth's voice came out higher than he intended. He cleared his breathing spiracles and tried again. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Brevis moved closer to the displays. His skin changed from calm blue to concerned yellow. Classification. Ryloth ran the scan again. The results made no sense. Sir, the hull appears to be constructed from primitive metallic alloys, iron, titanium, carbon composites, but the power output is reading at levels that exceed our Dreadnought-class vessels. That's impossible. Yes, sir, but the readings are consistent across all sensor arrays. Brevis's skin shifted to deep orange. Orange meant fear. Pull up the trajectory plot. The main screen changed to show a 3-dimensional map of the sector. The unknown vessel appeared as a bright red dot moving steadily through a field of debris. Ryloth felt his breathing spiracles close involuntarily. Commander, that's the contested zone. I can see that. Sir, the battle there ended 3 days ago, 40,000 casualties, 3 factions still claiming territory. No one goes into that area, no one. The vessel continued its path, unwavering. Brevis watched it for a long moment before his skin faded to pale green. Decision green. Contact Collective Defense Fleet. Priority alert. Unknown vessel entering active combat zone. Request immediate classification and tracking support. Ryloth's primary hands flew across the communications panel while his secondary pair continued monitoring the scanner data. The message went out on encrypted channels. He expected a response within minutes. Protocol demanded it. Sir, I'm getting additional data from the passive scanners. The vessel is approximately 400 meters in length. Cylindrical design with multiple protrusions. Weapons ports detected along the dorsal and ventral surfaces. Drive signature suggests fusion-based propulsion with some kind of secondary system I can't identify. Keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship before it reaches the debris field. Ryloth adjusted the scanner focus. More information flooded his screens. Reading multiple life signs aboard, definitely organic, not synthetic. Heat signatures suggest a warm-blooded species. Atmospheric composition inside the vessel shows high oxygen content, 21%, nitrogen at 78%. Brevis's skin flickered between yellow and orange. That oxygen ratio, check the database for matching species profiles. The computer processed the request. Ryloth watched the search parameters narrow down through thousands of known species. Then the results appeared. Only one match. His mandibles went rigid. Commander, the atmospheric composition matches only one species in our records. Humans. The word hung in the air like poison gas. Brevis's skin went completely white, shock white. Humans, are you certain? Database confidence is 97%, sir. Pull up their file, everything we have. Ryloth opened the classified records. The information that appeared made his smaller eyes close in instinctive protection. Sir, humans are listed as a Category 9 Deathworld species. Their planet of origin, designated as Earth, has a surface gravity 1.3 times collective standard. Atmospheric pressure at sea level exceeds safe parameters for most species. The planet hosts an unprecedented number of predatory life forms. disease evolution rates are classified as extreme hazard. The oceans contain acidic compounds and pressure levels that would crush most known vessels. What else? Ryloth scrolled through the data. Each entry seemed worse than the last. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They can maintain physical exertion for extended periods that would kill most species. Their bodies produce a cooling system. Through liquid secretion, they can consume and digest substances that are toxic to 70% of known species. Their skeletal structure can withstand impacts that would shatter our bones. Their healing factor allows recovery from injuries that would be fatal to us. Brevis's skin had turned gray, morning gray. Why are they here? Why now? I don't know, sir. The communication panel chimed. Ryloth opened the channel. Collective Defense Fleet acknowledges our alert. They're dispatching 3 observation cruisers to shadow the human vessel. Estimated arrival time is 4 hours. 4 hours. Brevis stared at the screen showing the vessel's trajectory. That ship will be deep in the debris field by then. They watched in silence as the human warship approached the edge of the combat zone. The debris field appeared on the scanners as thousands of small objects drifting in the void. Pieces of destroyed ships, fragments of stations, the remnants of 3 days of brutal fighting between factions that cared nothing for collective law. Ryloth's console beeped. Sir, I'm detecting a distress beacon. It's coming from inside the debris field. Automated emergency broadcast from a civilian station. I know, we received that signal 3 days ago. What were our orders? Brevis's skin darkened. Rescue classified as tactically unfeasible, too dangerous, too many hostiles in the area. Fleet Command determined the risk to our ships outweighed the potential benefit. So we just left them. We followed orders, technician. The human vessel began to slow. Ryloth watched the drive signature change as the ship reduced velocity. It was heading directly toward the source of the distress beacon, directly toward the derelict civilian station that Collective Command had abandoned. Sir, what are they doing? Brevis didn't answer. His skin had shifted to a color Ryloth had never seen before, a mixture of yellow fear and green determination and something else, something that might have been shame. The human warship continued its approach to the derelict station. No hesitation, no scanning for threats, no careful tactical analysis, just steady movement toward people who needed help. Ryloth whispered the question that neither of them wanted to ask. What kind of species flies into an active war zone to rescue strangers? On the screen, the human vessel disappeared into the debris field. Niven preened his chest feathers while reading the intelligence brief for the 3rd time. The words hadn't changed. Humans, Deathworld species, potentially hazardous. His talons tapped against the data pad in an unconscious rhythm of anxiety. Around him, the bridge of the harmonious purpose hummed with nervous energy. His crew kept glancing at the main view screen, where the human vessel appeared as a distant speck against the starfield. 3 collective observation cruisers had taken positions around it, maintaining what the tactical manual called a safe distance. Niven suspected there was no such thing as a safe distance from a species that evolved on a world designed to kill them. Lieutenant Paris hissed softly from the tactical station. Her scales had shifted to defensive red, a color her species couldn't consciously control. Captain Scholar, the human vessel is maneuvering toward the derelict station. I can see that, Lieutenant. Sir, we received that distress signal 72 hours ago. Command classified rescue operations as unfeasible. Niven ruffled his feathers. I'm aware of Fleet Command's decision. Then why are the humans approaching it? An excellent question. Operations Officer Quell rotated his crystalline body to face Niven. Light refracted through his form in geometric patterns that indicated confusion. Captain Scholar, I have completed analysis of the derelict station's structural integrity. Hull fractures in 17 locations. Radiation leak from damaged reactor core. Atmospheric containment at 14%. Internal gravity systems offline. By all calculations, anyone still alive inside has perhaps 6 hours of breathable air remaining. How long has it been since the attack? 6 days, sir. Paris's scales rippled. No one could survive 6 days in those conditions. Quell's crystalline structure pulsed. Correction, Lieutenant. Most species could not survive. However, if the survivors are from hardy species and found adequate shelter within the station, survival is theoretically possible. Probability stands at approximately 8%. 8% isn't worth the risk, Paris said. Niven watched the human ship extend its docking apparatus toward the derelict. Apparently, humans disagree with your assessment. The communication panel chimed. Niven activated it, expecting a report from one of the other observation vessels. Instead, a human voice filled the bridge. The translator software struggled for a moment before rendering the words in collective standard. Collective vessels, this is TCNS Wanderer. We are beginning rescue operations at the civilian station. Recommend you maintain current distance. Structural instability may cause debris scatter. The channel closed before Niven could respond. Paris's scales had gone full crimson. Sir, they didn't ask permission. They didn't request assistance. They just informed us of their intentions. Yes, that's not protocol. Human protocol appears to differ from ours. Quell shifted his position, light dancing through his body in agitated patterns. Captain Scholar, I must point out that docking with that station carries extreme risk. The radiation levels alone would be fatal to most species within 20 minutes. The structural instability means the entire station could collapse during rescue operations. By attempting this rescue, the humans are placing themselves in greater danger than the survivors currently face. Niven's feathers flattened against his body. Noted. Keep all sensors focused on the operation. I want detailed records of everything they do. On the view screen, the human vessel made contact with the derelict station. Metal screeched against metal, the sound picked up by their external sensors. Armored figures emerged from the human ship, moving along the hull toward a damaged airlock. Paris magnified the image. Sir, those are combat suits, military grade by the weapons signatures, but they're carrying medical equipment and life support gear. Warriors trained as medics. Apparently. Niven watched the human soldiers cut through the damaged airlock with precise torch work. The metal glowed white-hot before separating. No wasted movement. No hesitation despite the radiation readings that must be screaming warnings in their suits. How many life signs are you detecting inside the station? Niven asked. Quell's body pulsed as he processed sensor data. 4 distinct signatures. 2 are weak. 1 is very weak. The 4th appears to be a juvenile. Species identification. 2 collective traders, likely Felix species based on biological markers. 1 engineer insectoid classification. 1 mammalian child, species unknown. Niven's crest rose. A child. There was a child trapped inside that radiation-soaked wreck. He thought about Fleet Command's decision to classify the rescue as unfeasible. He thought about efficiency ratings and acceptable losses and tactical priorities. Then he thought about his own hatchlings, safe in their nest on the home world. Sir, the humans have breached the station, Paris reported. I'm reading 12 individuals inside now. They're moving fast. The external cameras showed nothing but the sealed hull. The sensor data told the story instead. Human soldiers spreading through the derelict station in coordinated patterns. Life support equipment being set up in the main chamber where the survivors huddled. Medical scanners active. Emergency oxygen flowing. Quell's voice held something that might have been wonder. Captain Scholar, the humans are operating in radiation levels that should incapacitate them. Yet their efficiency is not degrading. If anything, they are moving faster now than when they entered. Deathworld adaptations, Niven murmured. 47 minutes later, the humans emerged. They carried the survivors in emergency transport pods. Niven watched as the 4 rescued civilians were loaded onto the human vessel with the same careful precision the soldiers had used for everything else. Then his communication panel activated again. The same human voice from before, calm and matter-of-fact. Collective vessels, we have 4 civilians requiring immediate medical care beyond our capacity. Request permission to transfer them to your ships. Paris's scales flickered between red and yellow, confusion and fear mixing. Sir, they're asking us to help. They just risked their lives to save those people and now they want to give them to us. Niven stared at the view screen. His translator officer whispered, "Sir, how do we respond?" He thought about the question neither of them had asked. Why would humans risk everything to save strangers and then hand them over without asking for anything in return? What kind of species operated on those principles? Tell them yes, prepare Medical Bay 1, and send a message to the other observation ships. I want our best doctors ready. Quell's body pulsed. Captain Scholar, this violates first contact protocols. We are not authorized to interact directly with unknown species without council approval. Niven's feathers ruffled. Those humans just saved 4 collective citizens. I'm not going to tell them we can't provide medical care because of paperwork. Send the message. The communication officer transmitted the acceptance. Through the view screen, Niven watched the human vessel prepare the transfer. His mind raced with questions about these strange Deathworlders who charged into danger to save people they had never met. What are humans, he wondered, and what will they do next? Felix had given up trying to count the hours. Time meant nothing in the dark when every breath might be the last. His slug-like body had contracted into its smallest form to conserve oxygen. Beside him, the insectoid engineer had stopped clicking her mandibles. She might already be dead. The child still whimpered occasionally. That was the worst sound, worse than the creaking metal, worse than the hiss of escaping air. Then light exploded through the darkness. Felix's eye stalks retracted in instinctive terror. The wall had been solid metal moments ago. Now it glowed orange and white as something cut through from the other side. The child screamed. The engineer stirred weakly. "Stay back," Felix tried to shout, but his voice came out as a whisper. 6 days without proper moisture had dried his vocal membrane. The metal separated. Figures moved through the opening. Large figures in heavy armor that reflected the emergency lighting. Felix's 2 hearts hammered against his internal shell. Predators. They moved like predators, efficient, coordinated, deadly. One of them approached. Felix tried to retreat, but his body wouldn't cooperate. The figure reached up and removed its helmet. A face looked down at him. A face with forward-facing eyes. A face with exposed teeth. A face from a death world. Felix knew he was going to die. "Hey there," the face said. The translator in Felix's suit struggled with the alien language before producing words he could understand. "My name is Annie. We're here to help. Can you understand me?" Felix stared. The predator was female. The predator was speaking softly. The predator was smiling but keeping her teeth covered. "I know we look scary," Annie continued. Her voice stayed calm and measured. "But I promise we're not going to hurt you. We're going to get you out of here, all of you. I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Felix's eye stalks trembled. Trust a Deathworlder? Trust a species that evolved hunting and killing? But the alternative was staying here and dying. He managed a weak gesture that his species used for agreement. "Good, that's good," Annie turned her. Head without moving her body, calling to the other armored figures. "David, set up life support here. Marie, check the other survivors. Carlos, start stabilizing that kid." The armored figures moved with frightening speed. One of them, David apparently, placed a device beside Felix that immediately began pumping fresh oxygen into the air. Felix gasped as his breathing passages filled with clean atmosphere for the first time in days. His body began to expand back to normal size. Marie moved to the engineer and began scanning her with medical equipment. "She's alive, but barely. Severe dehydration and oxygen deprivation. I'm starting an IV now." Carlos approached the child slowly. The little mammalian creature pressed itself against the wall, terrified. Carlos removed his helmet too. His face was younger than Annie's, less scarred. He spoke in the same soft tone. "Hey, little one, I know you're scared. I have little brothers and sisters back home. They get scared too sometimes." He pulled something from a pouch on his suit. "Look, I brought something for you." He held out a small container. Water, clean, fresh water. The child stared at it with huge eyes. "It's okay," Carlos said. "It's safe here." The child reached out with trembling hands and took the container. It drank desperately, water spilling down its fur. When it finished, it looked at Carlos with less fear. "There you go, better," Carlos smiled with his mouth closed. "Now I need to check if you're hurt. Is that okay?" The child nodded. Annie had moved to Felix. She pulled out a scanner and ran it over his body. "You've got some radiation exposure, but nothing fatal. We can treat it. I'm going to give you some medicine now. It might sting a little." The injection did sting, but then warmth spread through Felix's body. The pain that had been constant for days began to fade. He looked at Annie with confusion. "Why? Why what? Why are you doing this? Why risk yourselves for us?" Annie paused. Her forward-facing eyes met his eye stalks directly. "Because you needed help and we could provide it. That's reason enough." "But you don't know us. We're not your species. We're not even part of your civilization." "Does that matter?" Felix didn't know how to answer. In collective space, everything was calculated on efficiency and benefit. Resources went where they produced the best returns. Rescue operations were evaluated on risk-to-reward ratios. These humans had thrown themselves into lethal radiation to save 4 random civilians from species they had never met. Another human approached Annie. "Sergeant, we need to move. Reactor core is degrading faster than we thought. We've got maybe 20 minutes before this whole section collapses." "Understood. Get the transport pods ready." The human soldiers worked with mechanical precision. They loaded Felix and the engineer into sealed pods that would protect them during transport. Carlos carried the child himself, the little creature clinging to his armored suit with tiny paws. As they moved through the damaged station, Felix saw the extent of the destruction. Walls bent and torn, floors buckled, exposed wiring sparking in the vacuum of damaged sections. The humans navigated it all without hesitation, adjusting their path as new obstacles appeared. They reached the airlock where the human ship had docked. Through the transparent section of his transport pod, Felix could see the vessel. It was scarred and dented. This ship had seen combat. These soldiers had fought battles, yet they used their weapons training and their combat skills to save lives instead of taking them. What kind of species does that? The transfer to the human ship took less than 5 minutes. The interior was clean but utilitarian. No decorative elements. Everything designed for function. The medical bay, however, was equipped with technology Felix recognized as advanced even by collective standards. Annie supervised the placement of the transport pods. A human doctor began examining each survivor. The child refused to let go of Carlos, so the young soldier sat with it while the doctor worked. Then Annie approached Felix's pod again. "We've contacted the collective observation ships. They're preparing to receive you for medical treatment. Our medical bay isn't equipped for all your species-specific needs. They can take better care of you than we can." Felix's eye stalks extended in surprise. "You're giving us to them. You'll get better care there." "But you saved us." Annie's expression softened. "We got you out, now they'll get you healthy, that's what matters." Felix watched this human warrior who had charged into radiation and death to pull strangers from darkness. "Thank you. The words aren't enough, but thank you." Annie smiled again, careful and gentle. "You're welcome, take care of yourself and take care of that kid." Felix looked at the child, now dozing in Carlos's arms. "What's that animal you gave it, the soft one?" Carlos glanced down at the stuffed toy. "It's a dog, a friend." "You domesticated a predator." "We domesticated lots of predators. Turns out most things don't want to fight if you offer them friendship instead." Felix's eye stalks trembled. These humans with their death-world bodies and their gentle hands. These warriors who chose rescue over retreat. These predators who offered friendship to prey species. The galaxy was about to meet humanity. Felix wondered if the galaxy was ready. Niven's medical bay had never been this crowded. 3 doctors surrounded the engineer, working to stabilize her vital signs. 2 more tended to Felix, treating his radiation exposure with chelating agents. The child, a small furry creature named Pip according to her identification chip, refused to leave the communication console where a video link showed the human soldier Carlos on the screen. Niven stood at the observation window, watching it all. His feathers had settled into contemplative gray. Behind him, Paris and Quell reviewed the sensor data from the human rescue operation. "It's not possible," Paris said for the 5th time. "They were inside that radiation field for 47 minutes. Most species would be dead within 20. The humans showed no degradation in performance." Quell's crystalline body pulsed. Their protective suits were advanced but not sufficient to explain the discrepancy. "I believe their biology provided significant resistance to radiation damage." "Deathworld adaptation," Niven murmured. "Their planet probably has higher background radiation than ours." His personal data pad chimed, a message from Collective Council. He opened it, read 3 lines, and felt his crest feathers rise in anger. The message was clear. "No authorization granted for direct contact. Withdraw immediately. File incident reports. Await disciplinary proceedings." He deleted the message. "Sir," Paris had noticed his reaction. "Orders from the Council." "Nothing that matters right now." The communication console activated. A human face appeared on screen. Female, older than Annie, with short gray hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. The translator identified her as Captain Diane Ruiz of the TCNS Wanderer. "Captain Scholar Niven, I'm transmitting tactical data to your vessel. Long-range sensors have detected a Dominion strike fleet entering this sector. 12 warships, heavy class. They're approximately 4 hours out." Niven's feathers went full white. "The Dominion, this sector is neutral space." "Not according to them. They've declared it expansion territory." Ruiz's expression remained neutral. "I'm recommending you withdraw your observation vessels to safe distance. This is about to become a combat zone." Paris hissed from her station. "We should leave immediately, sir. Dominion forces don't negotiate." Niven ignored her. "Captain Ruiz, what are your intentions?" "We're staying." "That's suicide. 12 warships against 1. Ruiz's face showed something that might have been amusement. "We've got work to finish here. There are still wrecks in this debris field, still possible survivors. We're not leaving until we've searched every single one. The Dominion won't care about your rescue operations." "I know." Niven's crest feathers stood straight up. "You're going to fight 12 ships to protect the possibility of finding more survivors." "That's the job, Captain Scholar." The transmission ended. Niven stared at the blank screen. Beside him, Quell's body had gone perfectly still. The crystalline being only did that when processing information that violated his logical parameters. "Sir," Paris said carefully, "we need to withdraw immediately. The Dominion will destroy anything in this sector." "I'm aware of Dominion tactics, Lieutenant." "Then you know we can't stay here." Niven turned to face his bridge crew. His feathers had shifted to decision green. "Send a message to the other observation vessels. Full tactical coordination protocols. Prepare weapon systems." Paris's scales went crimson. "Sir, we don't have authorization to engage in combat. We're an observation unit. We have specific orders to avoid conflict." "I'm countermanding those orders." "You can't. The Council will court-martial you. They'll strip your rank. They'll exile you from the fleet." "Probably." Quell rotated to face Niven fully. "Captain Scholar, I must point out the logical inconsistencies in this decision. We have no tactical advantage, no strategic value in this sector, no authorization from command. By every measure of rational analysis, withdrawal is the only sensible option." Niven looked at the medical bay where Pip still watched Carlos on the screen. The child had been left to die by collective protocol. Efficiency demanded it. Risk assessment demanded it. Every logical calculation demanded it. The humans had come anyway. "I'm tired of being sensible," Niven said quietly. "Prepare for combat operations." 3 hours and 42 minutes later, the Dominion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 12 massive warships, each one designed for a single purpose: conquest through overwhelming force. They arranged themselves in standard attack formation, weapons already charging. The communication channels crackled. A voice filled with arrogant authority spoke in Dominion standard. The translator rendered it for the collective crews. "This is War Prince Stellan of the Dominion 4th Expansion Fleet. All vessels in this sector are trespassing in claimed territory. You have 10 minutes to withdraw beyond the boundary markers or be destroyed. This is your only warning." Niven watched his tactical display. The collective ships were already calculating retreat vectors, standard procedure, logical procedure, survival procedure. Then the human ship moved. The Wanderer broke from its position near the debris field and accelerated directly toward the Dominion fleet. Not retreating, advancing, one ship against 12. The communication channels opened again. Captain Ruiz's voice, calm and clear, transmitted on all frequencies in every known language. "Dominion vessels, there are survivors in this sector who need rescue. I'm not leaving until we've found them all. You want us out of here, you're going to have to go through us." Silence filled the void, then laughter. War Prince Stellan's voice dripped with contempt. "One ship, one primitive vessel challenges the Dominion 4th Fleet. Your stupidity will be remembered as a lesson to others." 3 Dominion warships broke formation, moving to intercept the Wanderer. They were each twice the human ship's size, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Niven's tactical officer provided analysis. "Sir, the human vessel has no chance. They'll be destroyed in the first exchange." "Keep watching." The Dominion ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, bright enough to burn retinas. The Wanderer twisted, moving in ways that violated standard physics. The human ship used the debris field like a dancer used a stage, spinning around destroyed hulls, positioning. Chunks of wreckage between itself and incoming fire. Then the Wanderer fired back. The human weapons were different from anything in the collective arsenal. Kinetic accelerators that turned chunks of metal into relativistic projectiles. Missile systems that thought for themselves, adapting to countermeasures. Point defense grids that operated at computer speeds. One Dominion ship took a direct hit to its reactor core. The explosion lit up the sector like a newborn star. The second ship lost atmospheric integrity as human missiles found weak points in its armor. The third ship tried to retreat, but the Wanderer pursued, relentless as gravity. Niven's bridge crew stared in shocked silence. Paris's scales had gone pale yellow. Quell's crystalline structure pulsed in patterns Niven had never seen before. "Sir," the tactical officer whispered, "victory probability calculations have shifted. The human vessel is winning." Niven's crest feathers shifted to determination red. "All ships, prepare to join the engagement." War Prince Stellan had never experienced fear before this moment. His species had evolved as apex predators on a world where strength meant survival. The Dominion had built an empire on the principle that superior force always won. 12 ships should crush one ship. Mathematics demanded it. Physics demanded it. History demanded it. The humans were rewriting history. 2 more Dominion vessels spun out of control, their engines destroyed by precise human weapons fire. The Wanderer moved through the battle space like a living thing, predicting attacks before they came, exploiting weaknesses that shouldn't exist, fighting with an aggression that bordered on insanity. Stellan's tactical officer reported damage across the fleet. "War Prince, we've lost 3 ships completely. 4 more have sustained critical damage. The human vessel shows minimal damage despite concentrated fire." "How is that possible?" Unknown war prints. Their defensive systems operate beyond our sensor capabilities. They're using the debris field to maximum advantage, and their weapons' accuracy exceeds 97%. Stellan's claws dug into his command chair. All remaining ships focus fire on the human vessel, ignore the collective observers, destroy the humans first. 6 Dominion warships turned their full weapons arrays toward the Wanderer. Energy beams, plasma cannons, and kinetic missiles converged on a single point in space. The human ship disappeared in a ball of fire and radiation. Stellan's second heart began to slow. Victory, finally. No ship could survive that much concentrated firepower. Then the Wanderer emerged from the explosion, shields glowing but intact. It fired immediately, targeting the flagship. The impact shook Stellan's command deck. Alarms screamed across every station. War Prince, we've lost forward shields. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. Casualties reported. Before Stellan could respond, 3 new contacts appeared on tactical sensors. The collective observation ships had stopped observing. They were joining the fight. The lead collective vessel transmitted on open channels. Dominion Fleet, you are in violation of neutral space protocols. Cease hostilities immediately or face combined response. Stellan's tactical officer looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, the collective forces are coordinating with the human ship. They're using formation tactics we've never seen before. Human aggression combined with collective precision. Impossible. The collective doesn't fight offensive battles. They're fighting one now, War Prince. The battle shifted. The Wanderer continued its relentless assault, drawing fire and returning it with devastating accuracy. The collective ships moved in synchronized patterns, covering the human vessel's flanks, providing supporting fire at critical moments. It was like watching 2 completely different military doctrines merge into something new. Another Dominion ship's reactor went critical. The crew evacuated in escape pods moments before the vessel exploded. A second ship lost its weapons systems entirely and began drifting. Stellan's communication officer spoke hesitantly. War Prince, we're receiving transmission from the collective flagship. It's the human captain. Put it through. Captain Ruiz's face appeared on screen. She looked calm, not victorious or gloating, just calm. War Prince Stellan, you've lost 6 ships. 4 more are critically damaged. You can withdraw now with your remaining forces, or you can keep fighting and lose them all. Your choice. Stellan's pride screamed at him to continue, to destroy these upstart Deathworlders and their collective allies, but his tactical training overrode his pride. The battle was lost. Continuing would only increase casualties. This sector belongs to the Dominion, he said. We will return with greater force. Maybe, but today you're leaving. Stellan gave the order he never thought he'd give. All ships, retreat formation, prepare for faster-than-light jump. The remaining Dominion vessels broke off engagement and fled into the black. Stellan watched the human ship on his view screen until the moment his vessel jumped to safety. The Wanderer didn't pursue. It simply returned to the debris field and resumed searching for survivors. What kind of species fights like demons and then returns to rescue work like nothing happened? Aboard the Harmonious Purpose, Niven's communication panel chimed with increasing urgency. The collective council wanted answers. They wanted explanations. They wanted Niven arrested. Paris approached him carefully. Sir, the council is threatening court-martial. They're ordering us to return immediately. Tell them we're busy. Sir, we can't ignore direct orders from the council. Niven turned to face her. His feathers had settled into peaceful blue for the first time in hours. Lieutenant, we just helped save an entire sector. We fought alongside a species that risked everything for strangers. The council can wait. Quell's crystalline body pulsed. Captain Scholar, I must update my analysis. Human behavior is not irrational. It operates on different value calculations than collective doctrine. They prioritize individual life over tactical efficiency. They value courage over caution. They define strength not by what they can destroy, but by what they can protect. Yes, this is highly inefficient by standard measurements. Yes, yet they won the battle. Yes. Quell's structure went still. I require time to process the logical implications. The medical bay doors opened. Felix emerged, moving slowly but steadily. The engineer followed, supported by medical staff. Pip ran ahead of them all, heading straight for the communication console where Carlos still waited on screen. Felix approached Niven. "Captain Scholar, we heard the battle. The humans fought to protect us." "They fought to protect this entire sector." "Why?" Niven didn't have an answer that made sense in collective terms. Efficiency didn't explain it. Tactical advantage didn't explain it. Self-interest certainly didn't explain it. "Because that's who they are," Niven said finally. Felix eyestalks trembled. "The galaxy needs to know about this, about them. About what they did. The galaxy will know. I'm filing a complete report." Niven's crest feathers rose. "And I'm recommending formal diplomatic contact with humanity." Paris's scales flickered. "Sir, the Council will never approve that, not after we violated direct orders." "Then the Council will have to explain to the public why they're refusing contact with a species that saved collective citizens, while collective forces stood by and watched." The communication panel chimed again. This time it wasn't the Council, it was Captain Ruiz. "Captain Scholar Niven, we've completed our search of the debris field. Found 8 more survivors. We're transferring them to your medical bay if you have space." "We have space." "Good. Also wanted to say thanks for the backup during the fight. You didn't have to do that." Niven's feathers ruffled. "Yes, we did." Ruiz smiled. "Maybe we're not so different after all, Wanderer out." The transmission ended. Niven looked at his bridge crew, at the rescued civilians in the medical bay, at the tactical display showing the sector now clear of Dominion forces. "Navigation set course for collective command. We have a report to deliver, and a lot of questions to answer." Outside the viewports, the Wanderer continued its work, searching every last piece of debris for any sign of life. Never leaving, never giving up, never forgetting that behind every statistic was someone worth saving. Niven watched them work and wondered if the collective had forgotten something important in their pursuit of efficiency. Maybe strength wasn't just about survival. Maybe it was about what you were willing to risk for others. 3 days of searching produced 8 more survivors. 3 days of tense waiting while the collective council debated what to do with the officers who had violated direct orders. 3 days of media coverage spreading across every collective world as the story of the human rescue and the battle became public knowledge. Niven sat in the conference room of Collective Command Station. The room was designed to be intimidating, with high ceilings and severe lighting. 12 council members sat in elevated positions, looking down at him. This was supposed to make him feel small. It didn't work. Not after watching humans fight 12 warships to protect strangers. Council Member Thress, a dignified elder of the Avian Confederation, spoke first. "Captain Scholar. Niven, you stand accused of violating direct orders, engaging in unauthorized combat, and initiating contact with an unknown species without proper authorization. How do you plead?" "Guilty on all counts, Council Member." Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Niven had supporters here, citizens who had heard the story, parents who understood what it meant that someone had saved Pip when collective forces had abandoned her. Thress continued, "You understand the severity of these charges? You could be stripped of rank, exiled from the fleet, possibly imprisoned." "I understand, Council Member." "Then why did you do it?" Niven stood straighter. "Because it was the right thing to do." "The right thing? You violated decades of established protocol. You risked 3 valuable observation vessels. You engaged in combat without authorization." "Yes, and we saved 12 lives. We drove back a Dominion invasion force. and we made contact with a species that could change everything we think we know about strength and civilization. Another council member, Veles of the Crystal Communes, leaned forward. The humans are dangerous. They come from a death world. They possess advanced military technology. They fight with aggression that violates collective principles. They also risk their lives for strangers, Niven said. They define strength by who they protect, not who they defeat. They see someone in danger and their first instinct is to help, not to calculate the efficiency ratio. That's reckless. Is it? They won the battle. They saved the lives. They did everything we were too afraid to attempt. Thress raised a wing for silence. Captain Scholar, we are not debating the humans' capabilities. We are debating your actions. My actions were inspired by theirs, council member. I watched them do what we should have done days ago. I watched them fight for people they didn't know because it was right. And I decided that maybe we've become so focused on efficiency and survival that we've forgotten what we're supposed to be surviving for. The gallery erupted. Some voices supported him, others demanded punishment. Thress called for order. Before the debate could continue, the chamber doors opened. Captain Ruiz entered, followed by Sergeant Annie and 6 other humans. They wore formal uniforms rather than combat gear. They moved with quiet confidence. Council members, Ruiz said, I apologize for the interruption, but I believe I should be here for this discussion. Thress's feathers ruffled. Captain Ruiz, this is a collective military proceeding. It doesn't concern you. With respect, council member, it absolutely concerns me. You're considering punishing an officer for helping us save collective citizens. That makes it my business. You violated our space. You initiated rescue operations without authorization. You engaged in combat that could have started a larger conflict. Ruiz stepped forward. We did what needed to be done. No authorizations, no permissions, no calculations about whether it was worth it. There were people dying. We had the ability to help. Everything else was just noise. Veles's crystalline structure pulsed. That attitude is precisely what concerns us. You act without thinking. You take enormous risks. You operate outside established protocols. Yes, and 12 people are alive because of it. Annie spoke up. Council members, I carried a child out of that radiation-soaked wreck. A little girl who had been left to die because saving her wasn't efficient enough. If that's what your protocols require, then your protocols are broken. Thress looked troubled. Our protocols have maintained peace and stability for generations. Peace for who? Niven asked quietly. We left 4 civilians to die for peace. We ignored distress signals for stability. We calculated that their lives weren't worth the risk. The humans showed us what we've become. They showed us that we've traded our compassion for comfort. The chamber fell silent. Ruiz looked at Niven with something that might have been respect. Captain Scholar, we didn't come here to cause trouble for you. We came to offer testimony. Those 3 collective ships fought alongside us. They risked everything to protect this sector. If you're going to punish anyone, you should punish us for inspiring them. Thress's feathers had shifted to contemplative gray. Captain Ruiz, what are your intentions in collective space? We're explorers. We're looking for friends. We're hoping to find other species who believe that strength means protecting the weak, not exploiting them. And if we tell you to leave? Ruiz smiled. Then we'll leave, but the question you need to ask yourselves is whether you want us to. Council member Thress looked at his colleagues, looked at Niven, looked at the gallery where citizens watched with hope in their eyes. Finally, he looked at Pip, sitting in the front row beside Felic, clutching her stuffed dog. This council will take a brief recess to deliberate. 2 hours later, they returned. Thress announced the decision. Captain Scholar Niven, this council finds you guilty of violating direct orders. However, given the extraordinary circumstances and the positive outcome, we are issuing a formal reprimand with no further punishment. Additionally, we are authorizing you to serve as official liaison for diplomatic contact with humanity. The gallery erupted in cheers. Niven's feathers shifted to surprised yellow. Thress continued. Captain Ruiz, on behalf of the collective, I formally invite humanity to establish diplomatic relations. We have much to learn from each other. Ruiz extended her hand. Thress looked at it with confusion. Annie whispered something about human greeting customs. Thress reached out with a wing. They shook. 6 months later, Niven stood on the observation deck of the new collective human embassy station. Below him, the ceremony proceeded. Captain Ruiz, now Ambassador Ruiz, addressed the assembled species. We don't want to conquer the galaxy. We've had enough of war. We just want to make sure that when someone calls for help, someone answers. If you'll have us, we'd like to be the ones who answer. The vote was unanimous. Humanity joined the collective not as members but as something new. Protectors, the species who would go where others feared, who would fight when others fled, who would risk everything for strangers because that's what strength meant. Niven watched Pip run across the floor to hug Annie. The child had been adopted by a collective family but visited the humans regularly. She had become a symbol of what the galaxy could be when compassion replaced calculation. Paris approached Niven. Her scales had permanently shifted to peaceful green. Sir, do you think we made the right choice? Niven watched the ceremony, watched humans and dozens of other species mingling together, watched warriors who chose protection over conquest, watched a galaxy learning to be better. Yes, Lieutenant, I think we finally made the right choice. Outside the viewports, human ships patrolled alongside collective vessels. Different species, different doctrines, but the same purpose: to protect, to serve, to remember that civilization is measured not by what you can take, but by what you're willing to give. The galaxy had found its protectors, and the protectors had found their home.